welcome to Adventures of the Groots. This is Laura Gruttendorst, and I am going to be showing you how to make taco chili today in the slow cooker. This is one of my favorites because I can set it all up, I can put it in the slow cooker, dinner's ready by the time I'm done work and Rob's home, and we also will freeze the chili afterwards. It usually does about 4 to 5 meals just in one batch in the slow cooker. So first step is I am just going to open up the minced turkey. So I usually get 2 small packs, or sometimes I will get 1 large pack. It honestly just depends on what the store we go to has. I brown the meat before I put it into the slow cooker. So I usually turn this on medium-high. And the only reason I'm using a wok is because I hate when meat makes a mess on my stovetop. So it's more of an OCD problem. You can use anything to just cook the meat, but this kind of keeps it all together since we're cooking a large quantity at once. So I just mash it all up here and get it all ready while the element is warming up. Now, if you prefer, you can always use a different type of meat. If you don't like ground turkey, you can use pork, beef. It's completely up to you, but I usually use turkey in mine. You can also put in olive oil to cook it a little bit more. When I'm cooking though, I usually try to stay away from excess oils and salts. I really try to keep our food healthy when I'm cooking it, just to keep our health as good as possible. So since it's going in the slow cooker, you don't have to make sure it's completely like blackened, but you do want to make sure that it's all brown. So this is just about done. All right, so I'm looking in here and there's no pink spots. So it's all brown. I am going to turn off my elements. So because I like to keep it as healthy as possible, I usually drain out the fats from the meat after it's all browned. I just kind of push it around so that the meat lets all of the oils out. So now that we've drained the meat, I'm going to turn it on medium. And I'm just going to add one of the taco packets. So you're gonna need 2 taco packets for this recipe. And you only use 1 right now. You don't need to put anything else in with it. You just use the taco packet to season the meat. Let it cook for about 2 minutes on medium heat. Now that we have the meat all ready, what I'm going to do is I have my slow cooker here. I'm going to transfer all of the meat into the slow cooker. So now we have all of these ingredients that need to be put into here as well. So usually the way that I do it is I do all of the vegetables first. So I do all of the stuff that I need to cut first. So here we have 1 large sweet potato, obviously peeled. I pre-peeled it. It's actually from when I did my last family dinner. I bought too many sweet potatoes and had already peeled it, so now I just have to cut it. I hate cutting these things. So you'll want to put it into about bite-sized pieces. So now I'm just going to put in some corn. You can either use canned corn, so use either a full can of corn or just use some frozen corn. We always have frozen corn in the freezer, so I just usually throw a little bit in there. I don't really measure, it's probably about 2 cups. All right, and now that all the vegetables and stuff are in there, I'm just going to give it a stir so that it's evenly proportioned. So now I'm going to open up all of the cans. So here we have black beans. I do not drain the black beans. I just dump it all right in. And then now it's diced tomatoes. So I give it a little stir because the slow cooker does get super full. So you want to make some room for the next stuff to go in. So I'm gonna do the tomato sauce, and we have another can of diced tomatoes, but usually I put the tomato sauce in between because sometimes, depending on how full the slow cooker is, you don't necessarily need the full can of the second diced tomato. And the slow cooker is looking very full now. So what I'm going to do is in between, before I put in the diced tomatoes, the second can of diced tomatoes and the chicken stock, I'm actually going to put in the second packet of taco seasoning so that I have room to mix it. So now that that's mixed, I'm going to use the diced tomatoes again. So I did leave a little bit of the diced tomatoes in the can, just because, again, the slow cooker is looking very full. It will look less full once it starts cooking. There will be a lot of liquids in it because the liquids pull out of the corn and pull out of the sweet potatoes as they're cooking. But as of right now, it is looking very full. So I'm just going to mix that up and then add in the extra spices. So I'm adding in chili powder now. I don't really measure. I just kind of do it to taste. So honestly, you can put as little or as much as you want. It's kind of just on preference. So we really like chili powder. I'm now putting in paprika, another spice that we really like. So again, you can just do it to taste, and then just a little bit of salt. Again, I don't really like using a lot of salts and oils in my recipes, unless I have to. So I find that this chili does taste better with just a little bit of salt. So I put as little as possible into the recipe if I have to. Okay, so now pretty much everything is in there. So I'm going to open up the chicken broth. So you want to do about 2 cups of chicken broth in here. You really, like every time I make this though, it will vary on how high or how low this stuff is in the slow cooker. So I kind of just, again, don't measure. I grab a large thing of chicken broth, and it usually ends up being about half of a carton. So I do it pretty much until it gets to almost the rim of the slow cooker. And then I mix it so that some of the liquid goes into the bottom so that the sweet potatoes cook properly. So I've moved my slow cooker over to where I want it to cook. I usually put it somewhere where it's out of the way since it's going to be cooking all day. So I turn it on, I program it to cook for 7 hours on low. So that's all started. So once that goes off, I'm actually going to cook it for another hour on low or 30 minutes on high, depending on what your preference is or what time it is. And I'm going to be putting quinoa into it. So we usually put about 1 cup of quinoa into this.